From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Scott Wright, OSU beat writer. Scott, Chuba Hubbard, an amazing game on a Saturday against K-State. 296 yards, nearly reached that 300-yard mark. Just phenomenal for him in so many ways. And I think people continue to be impressed by him, not only here, but around the country. When you put up those sorts of numbers, can't help but turn some heads. Is Chuba Hubbard in the Heisman conversation at this point?
Right now, he definitely is. With the numbers that he's put up in the run game, he's more than 200 yards ahead of the number 2 guy in the country in total rushing yards this season. He's just running away from competition in that realm right now. The biggest issue is it's a quarterback world that we live in now, and there are so many really good quarterbacks on really good teams who are at the top of that race. So I think it's fair to say that Hubbard is most likely the number 1 running back on the Heisman list right now. You know, Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin still getting some love as well, but Hubbard, with what he's doing, and if he continues to I'm not going to say keep up this pace, because he's averaging a 200-yard game every other week at this point. So that pace might not be expected. But if he keeps going strong and doesn't have a significant fall off, he's going to keep himself there. Oklahoma State keeps winning. He's got a chance to stay very relevant in this conversation. Then it all comes down to how things shake out at the end. You
know, obviously there was a lot of talk these last few weeks about Chuba in terms of how many carries. 32 against Tulsa, 37 against Texas. Could he keep up? Can't possibly. I mean, the answer to that is you can't possibly keep that up. Yeah. Had a little over 20 on Saturday against K-State. Still a lot of carries. But, Scott, it felt different. I mean, I know he had that big 84-yard run, so a huge chunk in one run. But yet it felt like those were different kinds of carries for him against K-State. Did it to you?
Yeah, it absolutely did. The offensive line was giving him some room to run. And in particular, after Tylan Wallace had a big first half, Kansas State had to do some things to pull a safety out of the middle of the field. That gave him some big running lanes once he got through the offensive line. That helped out a lot. He wasn't taking a big pounding the way that he did against Texas, where it seemed like he was running into a brick wall all day. So those were some important things that will benefit him down the line and help keep him healthy. That's going to be the most important thing, is to not wear him out. He's a guy that's gotten banged up at times, but has played through everything. And when you can sort of balance out his carries the way that they did, he didn't have a lot early, only had 10 touches at halftime, and then they used him in the second half to put the game away. That was sort of an ideal type of day to finish with 25 carries and as productive as he was is pretty ridiculous.
Back to the Heisman talk for a second. You're right. We do live in a quarterback world as it relates to Heisman, and those guys have just dominated the trophy over the last 2 decades, really. Yeah. But something like an 84-yard touchdown run, so those highlights, is that the sort of thing, if Chuba Hubbard is going to get in the conversation, you got to have those big highlight moments? Yeah,
you do. If you get to the end of the day and you rush for 200 yards, people see that and they're all excited. But then they say, oh, you carried the ball 32 times. You know, maybe that's part of it. But when you have those big moments, those moments where you're running away from people and nobody on the field can keep up with you, or you're making cuts that a lot of running backs just don't see, because we've really seen some very impressive vision from Chuba Hubbard so far this season. When you're doing those types of things that people take note of, that's really going to help to keep him involved in this Heisman talk.
All right, we'll see what happens on Saturday out in Lubbock. Texas Tech's the next test for Chuba Hubbard and the Cowboys. That's an 11 o'clock start on FS1. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at Oklahoman.com and every day in the Oklahoman.